Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're from. My name is Matt, and I will be hosting Chelsea Perspective today. Sorry, it's not a familiar face. The coach himself is on a well and deserved holiday, so for the next week or so, you will have my presence. I am sorry if I am not good enough, but it's the best coach can do. You cannot find another good replacement as good as Chelsea's Perspective, but we are here to cover all the news for you beautiful people. Big up to Vic in the comment section. Perfect timing. I mean, I did not plan this. This was I had this planned. I haven't been speaking to Fabrizio. I didn't time it, but it is a perfect time to come on and discuss Chelsea news. Big up Andy in the comments. Up Chelsea, of course. Nightbot 2. Big up Nehemia. I'm not very good at names in terms of pronunciation, so I am sorry if I butcher any names. That will probably happen. Apologies to that. Samu come in. Bye Connor. And big up Siadaka from South Africa. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, indeed. And every Chelsea fan and rival fans, they can come along as long as they are peaceful, should we say. I'm a good replacement. Well, it's only been a few minutes. You can decide that after the stream. But let's get into the news, and let's start off with the here we goes. I mean, it kind of threw my whole presentation out the line, but there we go. Here we go. Conor Gallagher is a here we go for Atletico Madrid. The news we've known for days. We've been waiting on Conor's decision. This morning, or early yesterday morning, it was said that he's made his decision. He's going to go. Medical was supposed to be today. I assume that's now been done. A few hours ago, we had a little bit of a hiccup in terms of it was relying on the Alvarez deal. Julian Alvarez has also just been confirmed. Here we go to Atletico Madrid for, I think, it's nearly 100 million euros, which is not worth what he is, considering he's got less goals than Jackson. There we go. We won't say any more because Man City fans get triggered. But we were worried that Alvarez was not going to accept Atletico Madrid's wage. PSG had rumoured offered twice as much. But I think it's always been said that Alvarez wants to go to a place with a warm climate, and I think Madrid is a lot better than Paris in terms of warm climate, so that might have been the destination he's always wanted to go to. I think La Liga suits his style of play a little bit better as well, and the French league is a bit of a farmers' league at the moment with all the problems that are going on in that footballing country in terms of TV deals and stuff like that. But that is Conor Gallagher gone, and hopefully the rather toxic debates can just be done because he's not going to be here anymore. And that is that. In some positive income, well, potentially positive incomings, we potentially will now have a striker with Julian Alvarez going to Atletico Madrid. It looks like Mr. Sammy himself, will come into Chelsea, rumoured to be 40 million euros. I guess we might hear a here we go within the next hour, considering Alvarez and Gallagher has been mentioned. But we will have to wait and see for that. Big up to Kimira in comment section and Bobby. I did send it in the group chat. If you're in the group chat, it should be there. If not, I can send it to you directly. Just let me know. Big up Nightbot again, having a chat with Chimera in the comments. But guys, let me know in the comments what you think of the Gallagher deal. I know Coach has discussed it at length on this channel, so I won't go into it in too much detail. But you happy he's gone? Do you think the fee is the right fee for him to go? Or are you unhappy to see him go? And obviously, naturally, are you unhappy with some more of the common products going? I mean, in my opinion, before we start, I think Conor Gallagher in this system specifically is nothing more than a squad player, unfortunately. And I think it has been a simple case of Conor Gallagher thinks he's an important player in the squad. Chelsea don't believe that. And when you have them differences, the right thing is just to move the player on. Could it have been treated better? Maybe. But at the end of the day, with 1 year left, Chelsea do have to think about the books and that's what has needed to be done. Is it harsh with some of the things we've heard? Yes, but arguably our journalists just also putting a little bit of extra fire in to see what happens. Right, we've got some panelists ready to come in, so I'm going to invite them all in now. Once it actually works. Sorry, I am working on an iPad, so this is a little bit more. In CFC Dante, DJ Sav, and Bobby Smoky Signals. Guys, welcome in. How are you all?
Big up, guys.
Yeah,
big up,
Matt. Big up, guys.
Big up, Matt.
Big up, Matt. Big up to you, bro.
Big up. Oh, I can say we timed this quite perfectly in terms of the stream. In terms of Gallagher, Alvarez, and I assume Samu is going to be announced at some point. But what do you guys think quickly on kind of the Conor Gallagher situation? Now it's all done, dusted, and he's no longer a Chelsea player, effectively.
Go ahead, Bobby.
To be honest, I'm sad. I'm very sad, as I am whenever any of our academy lads, especially long-standing academy lads that have, played with honor for our club, and moved on. I felt the same way about Ruben Loftus-Cheek. I was very, very, very fond of Ruben. I'd met him personally on a number of occasions. And though I've not met Conor or any of his family, we've watched him, and I feel the same way. I understand it as much as it hurts me. I do understand it. The club has a position, and the position must be respected and must be allowed to run its course to fruition for the better of the club. Within that position, they did offer Conor 2 contracts, to which he turned it down, and he only has a year left on his on this current contract. Now, no matter how Conor feels, the club must have looked at it that look, they were not prepared to pay more money for him in terms of wages, to pay more than what they're paying the other midfielders. And although Chelsea are now very much in the green as far as PSR is concerned, but PSR does exist. The first phase of the new regulations has been implemented this summer, the 70% revenue rule. And you have to be within that. And that audit will take place, I believe, probably at the end of the season, or I'm not quite sure whether it goes on that 3-year cycle with which they check you. But your season's performance financially is added or documented within those 3 years. So they took a position. He did not want the position. And I think the best thing all round, he's done this not just for himself, but for the club, so that the club that he claims he loves so much isn't left short financially for him. So I think he's left with his head held up high. There won't be any bad blood at all, and certainly as a Chelsea boy, he will always be welcomed by the fans. So it is a sad day. It's not a day to really celebrate, but it's an understandable day as we continue to navigate this new project with the PSR regulations in mind, and the added one coming at the end of next summer, the one that has the salary cap anyway, based on the algorithm calculated from the least earning club. So every club is taking a futuristic approach to their business. That's why Napoli and their greed were stupid enough to land the 100 million plus price tag on Osimhen, and even PSG don't want to pay that. So the layer of the land has changed financially. We've lost one of our boys. At least we've made some money from him, pure profit. We wish him well at Atletico, apart from any time he would ever come across us. and hope this will be good for his England place as well. So, as I've said earlier, it's not a day to celebrate, but it's a day to just understand and say au revoir to one of our own.
Yeah, I think there's been I think not even just over the last few weeks, it's been over the last few months and arguably the last year that there's been this toxic debate. And I mean, I don't really care what side you're on, whether you're pro Gallagher, against Gallagher. For me, he's not one of my favourite players. I mean, Ruben Loftus-Cheek was by far my favourite player. If I was able to let him go, I can let most go without being too upset. And you just got to accept. Sometimes you got to accept some of these players are going to go. And I think Gallagher, I kind of agree a little bit with the overall club sentiment of he's a good player, but I think especially in the way Enzo wants to play, I think there are areas of it where Gallagher's going to struggle a little bit more, and he might not be a first team player. And I understand that Gallagher wants to stay. He wants to stay at Chelsea, wants to earn as much as kind of Reece James and other players. I just don't think if you're a squad player, not everyone can be earning the top wage. So I think I'm glad that it's gone smoother than kind of Mason Mount. I'm happy that Gallagher's not really caused seemingly any trouble in that aspect. Mount saga was, I don't think, dealt well by either side, and that resulted in Mount having a bit more tarnishment going out, especially kind of going to United as well. Whereas I think going to Atletico, it's not a club that we're always going to face, but especially this year, it's not a direct rival. And Gallagher, I think for Gallagher and the way he plays, it's probably one of the best clubs he could go to at the moment. So I hope he does well out there. I've got no hard feelings for the guy. And again, like you said, PSR, I think it's massively important. I think other clubs, you look at United, almost kind of following a similar mould by going for young players, Xerxes, the centre-back Euro. And even you look at other clubs at Man City, they've hesitated to spend. Liverpool haven't really spent anything. A lot of the big clubs are either hesitating or trying to do deals a little bit smartly. I think even Real Madrid, they've got Mbappe on a free, but they're looking at Alphonso Davies like, well, we don't really want to pay for you now, but we can get you a free next time. So I think everyone's being a bit more smarter and have to work. Even the guys that are not in Europe and are not necessarily suffering with some of the PSR rules that the Premier League clubs are, but everyone's working a little bit smarter. And I think the problem with a lot of people, especially Chelsea fans, that want to buy Osimhen, want to buy everyone, it's like the days of that era where you could spend 200 million like Neymar with PSG, that you can't really do that unless you're earning revenue-wise a lot of money. And I think with Chelsea particularly, we're a club that doesn't bring in as much gate as some of the big clubs do. We're not in Champions League at the moment, so we don't bring in revenue kind of that way. And sponsorships are down because we're not in Champions League. So I think it's an aspect where we do have to tread a little bit more carefully with what we do, which is why maybe we shouldn't be spending too much more money on every teenage Brazilian on the planet. But there we go. I can still understand some aspects of why they're doing it. Just maybe the balance is not correct. CFC Dante, welcome. And what do you think of the Gallagher situation?
Yeah, Matt, great to have you on. Thanks a lot for covering for Coach. You'll make a great host, I'm sure.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, look, I'm just happy it's over, to be honest. It's been a long saga. So, yeah, I'm glad it's over. He's got his move pretty much almost done, 100%. Yeah, it'll fit him good. And the club, actually, people keep saying that the club have not looked after him. Well, we kind of did. You got him a favorable move somewhere where he's going to be appreciated. We didn't get that much money for him. We could have got much more money for him last time, or probably selling to England. And there is that clause in his contract that we can match if we can match any price that anyone wants to buy him from Atletico Madrid from. So we actually put that little clause into the contract as well. So that shows that we care about the player. We're still looking after the player. So that's something that a lot of people have missed, but that's quite an important little thing, I think, that shows that we're not disrespecting him. We're not treating him badly, like everyone says. We still care for the player, and we did that by showing that, by putting that in the contract there, just in case, because it might work, it might not work in Atletico Madrid. You never know. One thing I do know is that they're trying to win now, so they're going for some bigger players as well. So they've got a bit of money to spend, and they want to give some more players to Simeone to try and win again, because he's sort of got the next sort of couple of years to try and do that. So if he doesn't, he might be moving on. You never know. And then Conor's situation might change again, as it does in football. Players leave, managers change, things like that happen. But hey, look, it's worked out in the best. We got something for him. We couldn't let him go for free. He's gone to a great club. He'll be appreciated, because Simeone does like his skill set. He will use him. Great weather, great city, good money. He's got a raise. He's got a great pay packet and some very good bonuses as well if they do really well. So, look, I think it's a good all round. Like you said, you loved Loftus-Cheek. A lot of the guys here loved. The coach loves the Loftus-Cheek as well. Like you said, yeah, you let him go. You can let Gallagher go, no problem. So yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm just happy it's done. We move on, and we'll see what happens. We'll talk about the incomings and whoever is coming in. We'll see that. We'll talk about that later in the show. But yeah, I'm just happy it's done, and hopefully it's over and we can move on.
Yeah, I mean, DJ Sab, did you have anything else to add regarding the Conor Gallagher situation?
Big up, Matt. Great seeing you on here, mate. We just said, yeah, welcome to the stream. Welcome to filling in for Kachilla. Yeah, listen, the whole situation with Gallagher. Yeah, I'm with Bobby on it. Obviously, gutted to see the guy go, but I also understand why they've done it. Why he's gone. So in terms of that, he's got a good move to Atletico Madrid, and hope it works out for him well. Obviously, he wasn't going to get his opportunity. It looked like he wasn't going to be playing the Maresca system anyway. So yeah, at least he's got his move. We got some money for him, and yeah, and so I say good luck to him. It looks like Atletico going to be doing a few things this season. It looks like with the players they're signing, but yeah, good luck to him on that one. So I have to say on that one, bro.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we'll go through a little bit of the comments before we go on to the next session. Question. Big up. I like the way you pronounce. I do try. If it is completely wrong, please do let me know. Gallagher situation was handled quickly and harsh. I understand what you mean in both sense of quickly and harshly, but like some of the guys have said, he's got a favourable move. Sometimes with what journalists say, you do have to take everything with a pinch of salt, because journalists love to create a little bit of drama, so it might not have been behind the scenes as dramatic as some of the journalists have made out to be. But I mean, even with the quickly situation, I mean, Conor's future has arguably been in the air for the last year, so I'd argue this window it's been handled fairly quickly, which I don't think is a bad thing for the club, because you don't want this running into the end of the window, especially with being a 1 year left. That's when you go into more desperate times, desperate measures. But I do think this is a saga that's been going on in the background for a while, rather than in terms of the whole situation, since Conor's future has been up in the air. But I can understand your points either way with that. Chimera says, I'd rather keep Gallagher than Ugachukwu and Carney, but Gallagher wanted out, so fly high. Yeah, I mean, I think Carney's a bit of a slightly different player to Gallagher. I can understand with Ugachukwu. I don't think he's ready yet. Again, I think he probably needs potentially a loan out. I don't know whether he's going to get it or whether he's going to be within the first team somehow. But you don't know what he's going to produce in the future. I think in terms of trajectory and path is a lot earlier on that pathway so far. So we never know what you're going to get with Ugachukwu at the moment. He might just be one of these guys that comes in, goes out with selling for a bit more money, as we've seen with one of the other players today. Let's have a look. Vic says, yeah, we spend 200 million in this window and none of them improved the first team. Well, I think we can have a little bit of a debate with some of them. I think, yes, the first team necessarily hasn't been strengthened, although I argue getting Tosin in at the back to help us out with height and corners is probably an improvement, considering half the bloody goals we conceded were corners or crosses last season. But even with Dewsbury Hall, I think some of them players, I don't necessarily improve the first team, but the overall depth in the squad. And when I say depth, I don't just mean players like Ugo Chitwu who weren't ready. I think players that are going to be ready for this level. I think we have improved the overall squad. I think there are some signings that potentially need to be made to be bigger, but I'm hoping just a bit of stability in terms of not signing about 1 billion players and having 1 billion players in the squad will help us in the long run. Just having a bit more quality in depth might help us a little bit more than signing loads and loads of players. And already when we learn a new system, going through another rebuild patient saga that we've had for the last 2-3 years. Kimzo, big up to you for joining in. Is Osimhen happening? We'll get to that later in the stream. We don't know yet. It's a bit of a battle of the journalist giants of Ornstein and Marzio at the moment, but we'll see who comes out better. I think that's it from the comments. Big up Blue Clouds Media for joining us. Make sure you all smash the like button. We've got 77 people in on the YouTube. So make sure you smash the like button. It's free. You don't need to do anything apart from click one button. So please, it helps the channel massively out to get more new viewers in and new people in. So make sure you smash the like button. And we will continue with the next topic, which is going to be our new striker that we potentially are going to have happen. Obviously, Alvarez is looking like he's going to go to Atletico Madrid, which means Samu Omorodion. I don't know how to pronounce the second name at the moment, but he looks like he's coming in for 40 million euros, which I think is a lot less than previously they've mentioned. Some people have mentioned 70 million euros. So the fact that it's much smaller seems a bit more happier for me. But I have never watched this player, so I don't know what he's like apart from the few comps that I've seen online. DJ Sav, I'll start with you on this. What do you think of this signing from Atletico Madrid? Do you think it's generally going to help us, or do you think this could be another dud in terms of actually improving the squad?
I think it will improve us. I mean, I've to be honest, I've not actually, like you, I've not actually seen the kid play. I've just seen videos of him, and he does look a good prospect. But then you look around the team at the moment, you got Guehi, you got Washington, and then obviously you got Jackson in there as well. So you're thinking to yourself, is this guy? Do we already have a player already at the club that's already like him? And a lot of people are obviously making the comparisons of him to a few of our players, but I think there was comparisons to Jackson, and Cook has been mentioned, a bit of both of those in him. As I said, I have not seen the guy play properly. I've only watched videos of him. Whether he comes in and does a good job, look, only time will tell. I hope he does. I mean, he's got the physique. He's got a good height on him. From the videos I saw, he's got a good shot on him as well. So he could come in and do a good job for us. I hope it does work out for us. But I still think that I'm still thinking we're still a little bit light up front. I'm not going to lie, because is this guy going to do exactly what Cole Palmer did for us last season? Come in and start smashing goals for us, because I think a lot of people now that any young player coming in now, I think a lot of people are going to compare it all now to Cole Palmer to come in, and are they going to score the goals for us as he did? And I think that's the question. I think that will be asked upon this kid. And let's see. I'm not going to put no judgments on him or doubt him. I hope he comes in and does well. I'm not going to call him a dud. I think there's from what I've seen of him is that there looks like a player in him, and hopefully he can come to us and show that, and he plays the way Maresca wants him to play. And if he can adapt to that and get the goals that we need, then we're laughing all the way. So yeah, hopefully it will be a good signing. 7-year contract, I believe, as well, isn't it?
Yes, well, knowing our club, it will definitely be a 7-year contract. We only don't give that to Gallagher, but that's how it goes.
Yeah, we'll give it to him.
I mean, Dante, have you seen anything of this player outside the comps that are going around on Twitter at the moment?
Yeah, look, at first, when I first heard about him, I just quickly looked at a video. I didn't look too much into him because we were just talking about, we wasn't sure we're going to sign him. It's much closer now to happening. So I did check out the last couple of days, been on some forums, Atletico Madrid, just checking out some things out, some graphs and stuff like that. Look, a lot of them absolutely love him for the not for now, for the future. He's touted as the next number 9 for Spain in the near future, so they do love him. Obviously not now, like I said, that's for the future. In the next sort of couple of years, they can see him developing into that role. Look, he's a big guy, tall, very strong, physical, has speed, quick on the turn, not too bad technically. We signed Guy, the young Spanish one as well. I think he is better than Guy for our system. He would play better in that system just because he can do those things. A little bit older, of course, a couple of years older than Guy, a little bit more sort of developed as in physically, and yeah, he's got the speed. Whereas Guy likes to play with the ball at his feet, a bit more back to the goal. Samu is a lot more, takes on his player, very much like a Jackson, not as close to a Jackson, quite hasn't got the technical ability of Jackson yet, but same sort of game style for a big guy. He plays that way. So I think that's probably, they looked at him, they can see like all these young players we've signed, they can see the near future, not for now. They can see what he can become and what he's touted to become. And obviously they're sold on him. So that's why they are looking at him. Atletico Madrid did not want to sell him. Hence they kept saying, no, we're not selling him. For this much, for that much. They wanted the 70 million. He's got a release clause of 70 million, and they wouldn't accept anything from us before. Obviously, things have changed. They're backing Simeone now if they're going to get Alvarez, and they're still looking for another striker as well, because they need it. Morata left Atletico Madrid. He's gone to AC Milan, so they are still looking for another striker on top of Alvarez as well. They do need a physical striker up front because they do play with that type of striker in Simeone's system. Alvarez will not be their striker. He will not be their starting striker because he does not use those type of strikers in the number 9 position. He will play in behind or out wide. Alvarez will not be their striker. It's just how Simeone plays. And from what I've read, that's what the fans are saying. So they are going to be looking for another striker as well on top of him. But yeah, look, Samu, he's got great potential like the ones we've signed. We're looking for the near future. They're not looking at it now. And I know fans are frustrated with that. But yeah, we'll talk about Osimhen as well after. He might still be coming in. If it's a loan to buy, then he'll probably come in as well, maybe. So, look, he's exciting for the future. Is he ready now? No, but that's pretty much the profile we're going for, and that's the type of players we have at the moment. We are building for a couple of years down the line, not right now. So, yeah, he's got a lot of potential. The price is actually good now. I would never have paid 70 million for him. And that's why a lot of the fans were quite angry, of course, on X and everywhere, because they were saying, oh, we can't pay that much money for him. But look, at 35 million, that's a bit more acceptable. So, yeah, I don't mind him coming in. He gives us that big physical player as well that we don't have, that type of profile we don't have. And in Guy, I know we got Guy, but he's only 18. He's young. We got him for 5 million. Guy was always a bit of a project player, maybe to even loan out, not to stay. So, in my personal opinion, Samu is better than Guy. So, yes, if he comes in, he would be playing over Guy.
Yeah, I think touching on kind of Guy quickly, I think that signing, I mean, to me, from what I've heard a lot about it, I think it does scream a bit more of an opportunistic signing of, you've seen he's still on the youth contract at Barcelona, which means he doesn't have a ridiculous ridiculous release clause. And I think Chelsea just saw an opportunity to, again, buy a player for peanuts. And whether he does play in the first team, whether he goes out on loan, whether he even just sits in the under 21s and gets some development there, no matter what, you're probably going to be able to sell him for more than 6 million. So I think, again, in terms of that PSR, I think he's a perfect type of player for that, whether he does go on to do well at Chelsea. I mean, I was quite impressed with him during pre-season. I didn't know what to think of him, and he has looked quite well. I think one of the better players in terms of performances compared to the others. But on kind of Samu, before we go to Bobby, he does look like that kind of rough diamond at the moment, that he's raw. You do need to shape him up a little bit. There's things that there's good things, don't get me wrong. I mean, obviously being at Deportivo Alvarez, it's a relegation type team, so when people go, oh, he's only scored 8 goals, well, in a team where you're not really getting the services of a big team, you're young and you're not necessarily ready, potentially, as you've one of your first kind of seasons kind of playing, you're not going to score as many. But I think from that, some of the metrics, and I think, as you said, he's good at holding up, although definitely they don't really cross the ball into him, so you don't see it in terms of headers, in terms of goals, but
he's actually pretty good in the air. He's scored a lot of headed goals as well. Yeah, I looked into that. So he's actually pretty good in the air. Yeah, they did get crosses into him because they used his height and physicality. So especially free kicks and set pieces. So he did score quite a few headed goals as well. So he's actually probably one of our best in the air, to be honest. I don't think we have anyone better in the air than him.
No, I think Jackson's not the best in the air, despite even his height. But I think for me, he strikes me as that player that at the moment probably will be on the bench, even if Osimhen doesn't come in. And I think almost could be that plan B type player. Yeah. If we do need an extra goal, bring him on, play again, there's a bit more crosses into the box, especially maybe against these smaller teams that are going to sit back and there's not going to be much space in the box and you might need to rely on kind of a big man. Almost kind of like, I think we haven't had a player like this really in terms of guy who can score with his head properly since probably Olivier Giroud. So it could be good. I mean, I agree with you. The price, I think, is much. If we paid 70 million for this guy, I would have flipped. But the fact
even 50, 60, 100%.
The fact that we've paid the fee we have, it's kind of, let's wait and see. I don't know. I mean, Vic could be right. He could flop. He could not do too well, and we might be hyping him up too much. But we'll have to wait and see on the guy. I want to see him.
He's young. He's hungry. He wants to prove something. He is the under 21, under 23, Spain's number 9 starting. It's not an easy feat. So he's very highly touted. Like I said, at the start, I didn't really look into much. I didn't believe too much. I can see why they're going for him. It's a rare skill set to be that big and have that sort of all the rest of the round game pretty close. So yeah, I can see why they're going for him. Yeah, he's not for now. Like you said, he'll probably be the competing for that starting role, but most likely be the sort of backup, really. So yeah,
if Osimhen comes in, we won't worry about it as nowhere near as much.
If Osimhen comes in, it'll be great for him. Actually, great for all of them to learn and look up to someone. And look, he's not that different from Osimhen, to be honest. The technical ability is exactly like Osimhen. He can do everything Osimhen does. He's quicker than Osimhen. He can do it all. He's very close to Osimhen. He's bigger, more physical than Osimhen. Osimhen's just that, maturity and that experience. But other than that, he does everything better than Osimhen, from what I've seen. Osimhen is not a very skillful player. He's not a technical player. That's not his strength at all. So,
yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see.
He's Spanish. He's grown up in the Spanish system.
Yeah. I mean, Bobby, what do you think of the guy? In terms of
sorry, I just had to unmute. I have to admit, I don't know much, if anything, about him. What I'm quite excited about, as well as quite intrigued about, is that, as you all know, I've followed Chelsea a very, very long time, and I've heard the fans over the years say, oh, they want Chelsea to, do proper scouting, although we've always done scouting. I think we did some incredible scouting during the Michael Emenalo days. But that aside, in recent times, they've been saying, oh, we want us to get scouts, get players, instead of buying all these big names. And okay, we're doing that now. This is the project. This is what we're up to. Okay, financially driven, but this is the plan. It's going to take time. It's going to perhaps look a bit frustrating because 99% of the players we're getting now wasn't always the case, even with this ownership. But 99% of the players we're getting now are completely unknown. I don't know this guy. Didn't know Mark Gui. I think that's not how you say it, from the Moresco interview. Didn't know him. Lots of these sort of new acquisitions are not particularly players that we know. And yes, it can be said that, that we're looking to the future. I think what they are looking at is short-term, medium-term, and long-term. Are these guys expected to hit the ground running? Not particularly, because they've got to integrate. They've got to get used to the way the manager plays. We've sort of gone back to last season, hoping that this time we have fit players in order to execute the plan, and we're starting from scratch. Now, can we expect success from these players? I'm glad nobody is, but personally, I believe they will. If you're good enough, you're old enough. And these people have invested in some of the best young talents in the world. Problem with these youngsters is that they've been in places where they haven't had the opportunity to play. Will they exhibit some immaturity, especially in the Premier League first season? Absolutely. We saw what happened last season with a lot of the chaps, and they didn't even kick into gear till towards the end of the season when some of the cavalry started dripping back from injury. So, coming back to your question, Samu Dion, whatever. Um, I don't know him. I'm intrigued because this is clearly a scouting stroke sporting director's selection. I love the idea that they've put their money where their mouth is. They're stepping up to the plate. They are taking responsibility with the big decisions because it all comes down to them, and they're backing themselves. They're backing themselves. To be honest, I'm quite amusingly astonished at the sheer balls of it all. Even Moresca is just because I'm a die-hard Chelsea fan that I have any faith in that selection at all. I don't know him from Adam in terms of his ability in the Premier League, and nor does anyone else. Okay, he worked with Pep Guardiola. That's no guarantee of anything, to be honest. So it's all really interesting stuff. It's all really very novel, new stuff. And honestly, this is the way to go. In my humble opinion, I have never seen anybody really achieve greatness by mimicking somebody else. Yeah, you may say, okay, but in the past, all these people that assembled more or less Galacticos, they were guaranteed to win and they won. Yes, that's very true. Real Madrid is still more or less doing that, although the financial situation is making them a little bit more careful about how they do things. But real success, that longevity, that legacy, that imprint always come from those teams that are built from a position that nobody knew. And I could give you examples. The Ajax 95 team of Louis van Gaal that went on to win the Champions League, they were littered with a lot of kids. Yeah, they had a few mature players like Yari Littmanen, um, Frank Rijkaard. I think one of the De Boer brothers was there as well. But they were largely children, and they won the Premier League, the Champions League at a canter that has never been forgotten. Trouble is with them, because of this financial position of Ajax, they had to be all sold off. Chelsea's numerous teams, and indeed, I will argue, Chelsea's greatest success in their history have always been carried out by teams they relatively built from scratch. Apart from the first Champions League victory, and of course the second Premier League, or rather league title victories thereon, you could argue that, okay, that was a time that Chelsea sort of assembled the best ready-made talents, but that was Roman's way. But when you look at some of the other most significant victories, the first league, the first FA Cup, the first Cup, League Cup, the first Cup Winners' Cup, even the second Champions League, it could be argued that there was largely players from the academy because of the transfer ban. I'm quite excited by this. I think this is the stuff of legacy. This is the stuff that, if it's pulled off, everybody will be copying, and this will be spoken about for many, many, many years to come. Why? Because it has the ability to sustain itself. And this isn't a club that is, let's face it, hard up for money. they're not going to be in a hurry to sell left, right, and centre, Jack, any one of their best players. They don't need to. What they can do is, the more success they get, the more likely these players will be hung on to, because the more they will yield the benefit of their financial wage packet, because of the bonuses that will come their way, and the fact that they will start to fulfill the the objective of their football careers. We've got to be excited by this. I know it's scary. I know there's a lot of pessimism out there. There's a lot of fear out there. But as I've told some of these guys, I've seen a lot of rebuilds. Well, a lot. I've seen about two or three, and I've experienced how topsy-turvy they can be, how rocky they can be, how scary they can be. I witnessed the rebuild that we had after the great FA Cup and League Cup winning sides, when we rebuilt with an 18-year-old Ray Wilkins as captain of a side and a 16-year-old Tommy Langley as our top striker. You don't get much younger than that. And they ended up being a fantastic side. I think they were third in the old Division 1 before they had to fall to the age-old problem of money, and they sold some of their best players like Ray Wilkins and so on. So it can be done. It can be done if you are wise and if you're careful and if you trust in the research, the selective processes of those that it's their job to do it. And in this case, for us, it's the scouts and the sporting directors. Let's wait and see what happens. I'm just hanging on to my hat. I know it will be crazy in the beginning because this team is nowhere near ready for the start of the Premier League. I'm just praying they can get results, because I don't see this team being ready for anything till about November, December. I really don't. I just don't see how that's going to happen. I'm even praying they survive the playoffs of the Conference League, because they're not ready. They're not rehearsed. They're not integrated. But once they are, wow, and they stay fit, trust me, they're going to be quite a formidable proposition, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby, I think a lot of different things you speak right there. I agree with a lot. I mean, especially with the scouting aspect, the amount of times, as you said, in Emanalo era, we did do very well. I think that was a very good era. I think that's when Marina kind of took a bit more of a charge, that things just seemed to be a bit strange. There wasn't really a project in terms of going from Conte to Sarri, going from Sarri to Lampard, which obviously was just the transfer ban kind of caused that a little bit. And then going to Tuchel, it was so many different styles, so many different ways of playing, and there was a lot of system players that were fit for Conte and then weren't fit for Sarri. You had Sarri players that were fit for Sarri but not for Lampard, and it caused a lot of problems that arguably the new owners have had to sort a little bit of that out themselves. But I do like, I mean, a lot of football fans are fickle. They'll want scouting 1 minute, and then when they get scouting, they want world-class players in every 5 minutes. It's like, I think you do need a balance, and I think that's where maybe the balance at the moment is not right. But again, I think there are some financial aspects behind the club, behind the scenes, that are still needing to be improved to be able to get to that standard. But I do agree. I think I'm intrigued by this team. I wouldn't say optimistic at the moment, but the intriguement is there to see how this team does, because we are. I mean, even last season, if we didn't have the sheer amount of injuries we had, I think we probably would have give Tottenham, maybe Aston Villa, at least a bit more of a scare. I think we'd definitely be in a Europa League spot right now. Whether we would have got the top 4, top 5 is another question. But I think the sheer amount of players that we missed last season, good players, if, and that is a big if, they can stay fit this season, even without some of the newer players coming in, I think we've got a decent squad. Again, obviously, you're right in the aspect of this is going to take time in terms of learning this new system, because it's different, almost completely different to how Poch was playing. Poch is more of a individual expression type guy in terms of his players, which is good in some ways, but I think this is a lot more drilled, and you can see when something's really drilled and you make one mistake, it can cause problems all over the pitch. I think these players are going to learn and are going to have to learn, and sometimes you have to make mistakes to learn, which arguably I'd rather make mistakes now and learn from it in a few weeks than make them all in the first half of the season and then pressure gets put on and this project stops before it even starts. I think especially the first few games, I think while I think we do want to learn this system, I do think we need to look at tweaking it a little bit. Almost, I think someone said to me, dumbing it down a little bit just to try and get a bit more results and slowly integrate it a little bit more. I do think players like Dewsbury Hall, who have played the system last season, will help. And I think there are players that you can see are a lot more used to it than others. But I think you'll find that there will, especially in the starting 11, you'll find the players that maybe don't start the season. You think, oh, why aren't they starting? And maybe it is more just because they're not learned up to the system yet. We'll see how the first part of the season goes. I'm intrigued. Whether I'm confident is another question. But we'll have to wait and see for the first few games. I mean, let's get into the comments again, see what people are saying. Let's have a look. So we'll speak about the Madrid game a little bit later. I would say that the defence is going to struggle against some of them players, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, man, just ignore that Vic guy. Don't read his comments. Don't worry about Vic.
Right.
He used to attend the barbecues with Poch, so he doesn't like anyone now.
Struggling a little bit to adapt at the moment. Big up to Walter. First comment I've seen for you tonight. I feel the owners don't have a structure of buying players. I think they have a structure. It's whether people agree with the structure, and I think the one thing I can agree, there's a lot of players in the squad at the moment that need to be sorted. I think the one part that I look at is there's a lot of players that I think need to go out on loan, but especially international wise, there's not enough loan spots for it. So I think that's going to be something that's going to have to be juggled around. I think players like Washington might have to sit in almost the under-21s and the under-18s again, which is that best for their development? I don't know. But
just on that, Matt, so there is a rule. So if they're under 21, we can loan out as many as we want.
Okay. So that does.
If they're over 21, no, we can't. They only got the 6, but under 21s, we can loan as many as we want.
Mm-hmm. Would that be? They have to be under 21 for the whole loan spell, or would it? Is it just only from?
It's just I just know there's under 21. I think they can't be over 21 during that. If they're 21, no. If they're 20 turning 21, I don't think they can. I think it's got to be under 21 the whole. Yeah. So pretty much all the 19-year-olds, 18, 19.
That might help us with our Washingtons and Gooey and that. But
yeah,
I think we're still going to struggle a little bit with that, which I think is why some players like Fofana might be pushed out the door a bit more permanently. Obviously, we've seen Brozier.
Brozier will probably be sold. Fofana probably loaned, obligation to buy, probably be sold from what I've seen. So yeah.
Let's have a look at some more comments. Let's have a look. Just looking through. I thought there was a lot more comments than I thought. Big up to everyone in the comments. Make sure you ask these questions down there, and we'll try and answer them at the end of each topic. Moving into another striker that we potentially get, and it's a little bit of a war between journalists at the moment. Ornstein versus Marzio, which for me, Ornstein is probably by far the most reliable at the moment, but it's a bit of a war with journalists at the moment to see who's true. Osimhen, is he going to come in on loan with an obligation or an option to buy? Are Chelsea going to be able to match that wage structure, which I think is something that people are very I think some of us are a little bit naive to realise how much this guy is actually on, and with the wage structure, I don't think this. I think we're able to push it a little bit, but maybe not as much as Osimhen is on now. But he could even come in. I think less likely could come in altogether. But at the moment, Marzio's saying it's dead. Ornstein and the Athletic in general are staying still on. Fabrizio's like, nothing's changed as far as I'm aware, which is not really a helpful comment, but there you go. We'll start with Dante first of all. There's a lot of strikers of Osimhen coming in, although I do suspect that Jackson might move into a bit more of a wide player if Osimhen does come in, which will help because we don't have really a good left winger. But do you think we can get this Osimhen deal done with all the complexities of this deal?
Look, the only way we can probably get that deal done if it is a loan to buy option. That's key in this deal because he will not go on this year's books. He'll go on next year's books if we do that. If we need to buy him this year and they really are going for him, then we will not be able to buy another winger or any other player because we've already got quite a lot on the books already that we've spent, and adding Osimhen to this year's books, it won't be possible. So hence we keep pushing for a loan obligation to buy next year, but a loan first, because then it's only his salary, but his massive fee, which is still massive, even though Lukaku will go the other way, it's still quite a big fee to add what we've spent. We've spent quite a bit. I can't remember how much it was, 120 or something million already. So yeah, we can't be spending over 200 million if he comes in, pretty much. So, well, that pretty much means the end. We cannot buy anyone else. So we can't add a winger that we really need, that they keep saying we need a right-footed winger. And from the start, they've been spot on with everything they said, that we're buying a keeper, we're getting a centre back, we're getting that striker. So everyone's it's all been on par except that right winger, which we tried in Elise, of course, but it didn't go through because of the demands. But yeah, look, Osimhen's an interesting one. DJ on the panel here, he loves Osimhen. He wants him to come in. We did quite a big in-depth analysis on him, if he suits us that much, if he doesn't. Some agree, some don't. But probably most of us, if he comes in, of course, we're going to back him and support him. And he'll probably be quite one of our most experienced players if he does come in, especially leading the line. So I wouldn't say no to him. It would be ideal. I don't mind him coming in at all, especially on a loan. That would really help a lot if he comes in on a loan. I know his wages are big, but apparently if the wages are the same, I think we can pay a little bit more. And the club has said that for someone like that, they can pay a little bit more. I think he's on 250 at 250. Yeah, he was on 100 and then he went up to 250 at Napoli. So he's on a high wage at Napoli at the moment. But we'll probably have to pay that same amount for him to come in. Is it worth it? Is it not? With Samu coming in as well, like I said, obviously, not that I'm comparing, people saying I'm comparing him to Osimhen. He does play very similar to Osimhen, but just with a bit more technical ability. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's Osimhen or he's better than Osimhen. Just saying if you compare them and if you really look at them closely, like I did, they play very, very similar. So, yeah, look, I don't mind if he comes in. Like I said, it would have to be on the loan. I don't see us buying him this campaign. That will leave us in a really bad position to not be able to get anyone else, but also could go over the top. Unless, of course, we do have already stuff in the works happening. Broya, like I said, Datro Fofana, Casade, all these other players. There could be some surprises there that we might still sell. Oh, Chalobah, he's still there to sell. Unless they've got some deals lined up for those guys, some money to come in, then maybe it's you can do it. But this is why we keep pushing that loan, because we don't want him on this year's books. We want him on next year's books. And that's the key thing there, I think. If that happens, I think we get him. If that happens, I don't see us getting him, no. I think then we just stay with, well, Samu will come in, of course. Jackson and Kunku can play up front. We still got Guy. Then Guy will most likely probably stay then. And as you say, yeah, I see Jackson as well, more of a left winger in this system. Up front as well, but I think I see him more of on the left as well, a little bit more. So, yeah, that's pretty much it about Osimhen. We'll just have to wait and see what these journalists keep cooking up, and they keep changing and adding to it. And, yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby, do you think this deal was likely, or do you think this is a little bit of talk just to try and get Chelsea fans excited? And do you think this bringing Osimhen in with the rest, is it too many people up front?
Yeah, that really is an intriguing situation, isn't it? On paper, and in logic tells me, well, if you're going for Omorodion, what's the point in going for Osimhen? Although some people think that the somewhat marquee value of Osimhen might be one of the things that will attract them to him. Um, but the only thing that I think may give this some legs is their desperation to get rid of Lukaku. But if that's the case, then I can't see them, at least in the initial instance, um, doing anything other than a loan for him. And yet there's another situation which I'm trying to hide my bias, but I've gotten very fond of Mark Gui. From what I've seen, the kid's a trier. His positional sense is good. I don't see what he's done wrong, and I wouldn't like to see him go on loan. I would like to think that he would be given a chance, at least as a second striker, or a second striking option. Because since all the teams is young anyway, and you're still developing as they're playing, why not develop him? I would be disappointed if he had to go, because we've done a double deal for Omorodion and Osimhen, who, to my understanding, are very much the same type of player. So I don't know about that one. It's probably some kind of um, publicity to try and placate the Chelsea fans. But the problem is the sort of um, uh, online accounts that's broadcasting this. It's very hard to ignore. So I really don't know. But honestly, I defend the ownership a lot. I try to give them a chance with their project. But I have to say that doesn't really make that much sense to me. I can understand them wanting to get rid of Lukaku, but you don't solve a problem with another problem, in my opinion. So I don't know where this one is, really. I don't know if it's true. If it's true, I have to put my hand on my heart and say, look, I can't see the sense in this. I have to bow to their greater knowledge, because this, I don't know. It looks silly to me, to be honest.
It's a very expensive deal considering we've got quite a lot of guys in. I mean, as we said, Jackson could play out wide. I know Maresca has said the opposite today, but when the managers never always tell the truth. They can say things and do the other. We've seen that with a lot of managers in the past. I think it's such a weird deal, because obviously it does help us with the Lukaku deal, which makes sense. Obviously PSG look like they've pulled out because the money doesn't work too much. Will they come back in? We don't know. I think Chelsea would like. I mean, Napoli do not want to make this an option to buy, because Italian clubs know that they use that as we will sign him in. We'll sign him at the end of the season, and then never do. We've seen that with Emerson and Alonso and other players that we've tried to do that in the past, and they've messed us around with that. So I think it would have to be an obligation. And then the wages is just, I mean, even with the 250, I get confused, because apparently in Italy their wages are done with tax not included, whereas here we are kind of, the wage when it's said is gross tax. So if you add tax into it, that's more going into the 350 bracket, which is, I don't think we're even going to touch that if that is the case. But it's such a complicated transfer. I don't think it'll be done anytime soon. So it'll be interesting to see if we do get it done, how he fits in and whatever. But I do think that, as I kind of mentioned, I do think it's something to try and please the fans that are saying that we're not signing any established players. but we'll see how it goes. DJ, Sav, do you have anything to add on the Osimhen deal at all?
Yeah, well, it's funny that you're talking about these owners basically saying that is it something to please the fans. I kind of put that on my Twitter page last night. In fact, that I think this Osimhen deal is just now we're getting this guy from Atletico. I mean, this deal for Osimhen for me is more. I mean, again, it depends on what you believe. I mean, tend to believe more Ornstein than Marzio, to be honest with you, because Ornstein seems to be the more. And if you read it, I think even Matt Law even said it that Chelsea even still working on the Osimhen deal still. They want to end up maybe trying to get both strikers in. And there's also been other tweets going around saying that there's a possibility of having three. There'll be option to have space for 3 strikers in the team next season. So the way you look at it, does it make sense? I listen. I've always said it. I think Osimhen was always my first choice. I said it from the very beginning of last season when we were linked to the guy. I said I hope we can get this deal done because I don't think ever since Didier Drogba and Diego Costa, we've not really had anybody apart from obviously Cole Palmer doing what he did last season, coming in and banging as the goals as we need. And I think he just fits the bill. And if we can get this deal done, I'll be happy because I think he does bring that experience to the team. I'm not saying let Guehi go or even let or let anyone else go. He can still stay. For me, as I said, if they can fit 3 strikers in the team, it means probably letting one of the wingers go, which probably would end up happening anyway. So, yeah, I hope we can get it done. I can understand why people are worried about the situation of. Sorry about the noise in the background. Yeah. Listen, you better come back to me, Bobby. My missus is just coming with the Hoover right now. Sorry about
that. Not a problem. It's perfect.
Sorry, Bob.
It's a perfect transition to move into our new panelist that has joined and patiently has waited to give his opinion. Trevoh at Coolest Chelsea podcast. Welcome back. Welcome back on. I've heard you're an Osimhen fan, so I'll let you just take the floor of what you think of this deal, and do you think this fits for Chelsea in terms of all the signings we've got?
Yeah, first of all, there's no echo, right? I just want to make sure.
No, the famous echo is not there.
Okay, then they have news for you after the show. Hopefully we will talk. So overall, big up, guys. I hope you're all good. Like DJ Sef said, I think the Victor Osimhen deal is not off yet because remember we need to sell Lukaku, and also at the moment Napoli is struggling to get that deal done due to the fact they don't have enough money. But if we make a sub deal, that means there's something there. But also, Fabrizio Romano said this earlier today. Chelsea need to agree with Victor Osimhen, wages, packages, and everything before agreeing with Napoli. So overall, I hope something will get done. But as everyone's saying, getting 2 of them, him and Samu, will be difficult due to the fact that we have Nicholas Jackson playing a striker. Even Enzo Maresca said he preferred Jackson as a striker. So it's a tricky one at the moment. So we'll wait and see. But personally, I want Victor Osimhen at Chelsea because we need someone who's ready. We need a real threat. And then Samu at the moment is still raw. That's my biggest issue with him. So I'll wait and see what will happen. And I hope PSG don't come with crazy money for Victor Osimhen. Please, PSG, I beg you, don't come for Victor Osimhen. Let him come to Chelsea. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think it will take a big money to get him out, wage and transfer fee. I mean, the Chelsea owners, they do smart accounting with the 7-year contracts and trying to bend rules to our favour. So I could definitely see them trying to get this done and getting this done in a way that fits us, fits Napoli, and fits everyone. I think, as you said, there is so many strikers. I think Guehi would have to go out on loan if he came in, and I still think Jackson will probably be shoehorned into wing, which maybe I'd argue that might be that is our winger option that we were supposed to bring in, because I don't see much. I think that's while they've spoke about we need that and we're going to get that. Since Elise, there's not really been anything concrete coming out on that deal, and maybe there just isn't much. I mean, I think that right side, I don't think it's too much of a problem as people think it is, because we've got Palmer that can play on the right, especially if Nkunku's in the middle. You've got Madueke and Angelo that can also deputise there, which they're not bad players to say the least. And I always thought that left side is the problem, because I don't really like Sterling too much, and Mudryk is at the moment not offering enough on that side. So I think actually the left side is the one that I see as a bit more of the weak side, which is, again, if Jackson can play off the left or Nkunku, then that fits it a little bit. But we'll have to see whether it happens. I've heard little rumours that Arsenal could be slightly interested in Osimhen, but whether they have the money for it as well. I think if you see clubs like PSG who previously go crazy for players a little bit scared off, then you can tell that this is a hard deal to get done. And I don't know if anyone can get it done by the end of the window. But we will have to see. Moving on to another striker. It's just strikers incoming and going today. Rumours come out that David Datro Fofana could be on his way out, alone with an obligation or option to buy to Leicester. Newly promoted Leicester obviously haven't really made any signings and do need to improve on their squad coming into the Premier League. A player that we didn't sign for too much, it was 10 million, I think, around that ballpark. If you're counting into the kind of slowly degrading value over time, I think on the books he's probably about 8 million. So this could be, again, something else to bring in a bit more profit and try and work for the Osimhen deal. But we'll start with you, Bobby. A player that I thought has played okay, not done spectacular everywhere, but is it a shame that we're not actually getting him see him having a decent chance at all, or are you just happy to let him go and bring other players in?
The trouble, that's Datro Fofana, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the time he should have been allowed to make his mark was when he first came. But Graham Potter was so much like, a rabbit in headlights that he really couldn't see the wood from the trees. And when the kid came on and actually did well for him, he wouldn't recognize it because he was just hell-bent on trying to use established players to try and get him out of a hole. It's a shame, you can't, in a club like Chelsea, not everybody's going to succeed. And what happens, especially now that yet again we've changed manager, we must go for the cream of the crop. And personally, I would rather have him than Raheem Sterling, and probably at the moment than even Mikhailo Modric, who's struggling. He really is right now. However, he is a top striker, and to be a top striker at a club like Chelsea with our ambitions, it's going to take more than him. So he's going to be yet another one of those that will, unfortunately, be sold for some profit. I don't think he's a pure profit, but at least we can hope to sell him a little bit more than we got him. Talking about selling players, the player that I'm really irked about, I'm quite angry. I think we've been hoodwinked with this player, is Kepa. And the fact that nobody wants him now just goes to show what a disastrous mistake he was. But, I think we might have to buy him out of his contract like we did with Malang Sarr. But anyway, I don't want to digress from your question.
I mean, I hope just there was slight rumours that if apparently Lunin, if he leaves Real Madrid, but obviously we're not going after him. So, I mean, that might have been something we could have done instead of Jorgensen. But
no, Carlos just said it's not happening.
Yeah, so I
Carlo
think it's
Ancelotti just said
it's not going to happen, and so that's been brought out. Kepa. I mean, imagine if these current owners did Kepa as a signing, the reaction. I mean, obviously he was slagged off with Mourinho, Roman anyway, but the way Chelsea Twitter is now, if they did a Kepa scenario,
yeah.
you
Oh,
wouldn't hear
he would be,
anything.
yeah. Or if they did Lukaku, imagine that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. These owners have done some stupid things, but I'd argue Roman's done some. And I would, when I say Roman, that is when Roman was much more less involved than Mourinho took the court. There were some really stupid things that happened. I mean, we go through like the Bakayokos, the Drinkwaters, the Lukakus, the Kepas. I mean, I said this as a. I'm not enjoying this era at the moment particularly, but I that 17-18 season or 16-17 I think it was, that was the biggest. That was the massive. I mean, I come onto Twitter at that point just because I was so angry about it. So that made me come out of. I never really wanted Twitter, and I'd come out of hiding just because I was so frustrated with that season. So actually, I argue that's the one that I disliked even more. I also.
I felt, Matt, that I was one of the very, very few people that was calling Marina out. In fact, I'll go as far as to say, some platforms, people have this thing, I'm not looking at her gender. I couldn't give a brass backside. I was just looking at what was happening to the club and calling her out as I would anybody. But my goodness me, I got so many pelters, especially on Twitter, now X, for simply just saying it as it is. But you're right. If it was the Bowley era, they would have hung, drawn, and quartered them by now, especially with the whole Lukaku thing. And as you've said, even people like Malang Sarr, it was just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the Malang Sarr one was a bit of a I got it that it was I mean, you'd argue that I think these owners would probably make the same mistake, as in he's a free transfer. I don't think they'd put him on as much wage as he was on, but they'd look at it as a free transfer, and if he doesn't work, you could sell him for a bit more. But that just hasn't happened because he's just beyond just useless. I mean, useless, isn't it? He's just like a tumbleweed that just goes through. He's got no use. But I'm not going to criticize him too much because he's left the club, and it is what it is. He just starved. He just made a good living out of us. But yeah, I mean, I'd argue at least these owners have a plan. Whether it's the right plan or not is another question. But the Mourinho era I just found was very clueless, and like you, Bobby, I criticised her quite a lot and got a lot of abuse for it. Was I vindicated of it? Well, if Bowley maybe was a bit more successful, I would have been. But I'm still hoping that we can be more successful, and I think we will be eventually. It just might take a little bit of time to get through it. I mean, Dante, we'll come to you. Sad about Datro Fofana leaving, or happy just to get some more profit on the books?
Yeah, look, he never really got a go with us, but this is when we're going to buy volume of players like we did young players, they're not all going to work out. So look, he did okay on the loan at Burnley, did all right in Germany a little bit, then he sort of fell off, but then at Burnley he did okay as well. But he's just simply not in the plans. Obviously, Maresca probably doesn't like his style, or saw some stuff that he not really suited, and he's got to make the tough decisions. And yeah, then it's up to the club to do what they want, if they want to sell him, loan him, or what they want to do. So it all comes down to that. We've signed a lot of players. We're signing volume young players. Not all of them are going to work out. We're not really going to lose money on him because, like you said, he's not on the biggest wages. He wasn't expensive at all, and he's still young, so he's still got a bit of value. So I don't see us losing money. I can see him going out on loan. 100% he'll go out on loan. If that's an obligation to buy a loan, we'll see. I'm hearing Leicester are pretty interested in that option to loan with obligation to buy next year. So yeah, we'll see what happens with him. I mean, it's just professional football, unfortunately, at the top level, not all the players can make it. You can't be sentimental about all of them. You got to go by the coach you have at the time thinks of him, and then it's up to the club to loan him or sell him. So yeah, look, I don't know. It just hasn't worked out for him, unfortunately. We can't see behind the scenes. Yeah, we say that these players are good or this, that. We can't see what happens behind the scenes. How does he train? How is his ethics off the field? Diet, all sorts of other things. There's so many factors that come into play, not just playing football on the field with a lot of these players. All of that has to line up for you to get on there. So, yeah, it can be many things. So they're either going to move him on, give up on him, or they'll just send him out on loan and give him another chance, another year out on loan, see how he goes to raise his value. But it's looking more like they're going to move him on for him. And that's just going to happen when we buy this many players and we have that many players, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, Tobago, anything to add at all to that regarding Datro Fofana?
Yeah, Datro Fofana is one of Coachilla's favorite players. So unfortunately, if we are buying so many players, we have to offload other players. No need to have 7 strikers on the book without playing at the first team. So best signing for our club, because this guy have a potential but never given enough chance. So overall, I wish him all the best, and then we need to sell him because of his career still young and make some extra cash and balance our books. So good luck to Datro Fofana.
Yeah, I mean, I hope we can. I think player of his quality. I mean, he did okay at Burnley last season, so I hope we can get maybe 15, 20 at a push on that obligation to buy. Obviously, I know Leicester are in a little bit of a pickle PSR wise from being in the Championship, but I think they've already had their deduction of points and maybe they might be able to get over that. I don't know. But we'll see how they go. I mean, I think it could be a good option for them. Vardy's not exactly the youngest striker anymore. And if he do that in the Premier League again, I don't know. So it's another option for them. And I think it'd be good to kind of get some more players off the book, sold or loan wise, because there's just so many players in the squad at the moment that Fofana has even been. I don't even know if he's gone to America, to be fair. But we'll see how it is. DJ Sav, if you're still there.
No, I'm still here, bro. I'm still here.
Anything to add at all?
No, just like everyone said, really. Obviously, another player I thought had potential. I thought, when he scored, when he had that good loan spell last season, I thought possibly he might give an opportunity in pre-season. Clearly not the case. And look, the kid is young. He needs to play football. If he's got an opportunity to go and play and do that at Leicester, then good luck to him. I hope he can come. I hope he can be good for them next season. I'm sure he will. But yeah, on that one, mate. No, nothing more on that apart from that.
Perfect. Well, we'll transition from transfers. It's been an hour and a half of talking about transfers, which has been wonderful to talk about, and we'll talk about the game that is happening tonight, 12 a.m., which I'll be delighted to stay up for. But for the Americans out there and the Australians, I have to do this every week. Credit to you all for staying up at godly times to watch Chelsea or getting up early in the morning, because I don't think I could do that all season long. Credit to you all. We are playing another big team in Real Madrid, former manager Carlo Ancelotti. We've come off some pretty dreadful scorelines. Guys, are we just hoping we don't get battered again? Dante, I'll start with you.
Well, we didn't really get battered by Man City.
All wise, but
yeah, look, we'll see. We'll be better in this game, and especially that last friendly. Yeah, you'll see quite a lot in that one. Will he still experiment in this game? We'll see. He might not. Usually, the last couple of preseason games, you don't look to experiment too much. You start wanting to see a bit of pattern of play, a little bit more from the players. Last game we saw I don't know where they were. They're on holidays, obviously, but they were literally on the holiday on the field. They weren't doing much at all. that wasn't very good. In the second half, he picked up a bit when he went back to his old formation and his usual formation with the wingers, and that opened up. But he experimented quite a bit in the last game, so I'm not taking too much, especially that first half, too much from that. Man City didn't do that well, to be honest. We gave him the goals basically. But I do expect to see a bit more in this game because it is closer. It's that 2 weeks away, so it is closer, and especially in the last game. So I would like to see a bit more of a sort of serious approach to this one. Get the guys in the right positions, the guys that will play. I don't expect to see Reece there too much, maybe a little bit on the second half, but because obviously he's going to be missing those first 3-4 games. So, and Maresca did say he said it like a couple of games ago, he said the last sort of couple of games of the season, he wants to put pretty much his starting team out. So, especially in the last preseason game. So I think we'll see a bit more of a better approach to this one, his usual formation that he plays, and plays in the right positions and not experimenting as much, especially what happened to the last game. So yeah, I think we'll be on it a bit this game. Well, no, we're not getting battered, and no, it'll be a much closer game in my opinion. So I'm actually looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby, I'm going to give you the harder question of what is Chelsea's first strongest 11 at the moment. Obviously, we will probably presume that Reece, again, because Reece is going to be missing the first few games, he won't be as heavily involved tonight, and again, particularly against Inter on, I think, Saturday. What do you think he's going to do in terms of starting lineup for tonight?
Sorry, was that me, Matt?
Yeah, sorry, yeah, Bobby, yeah.
So what was the question?
What sort of 11 do you think we'll see starting up first thing tonight? Obviously, with him trying to figure out his strongest 11.
I don't think it will be a case of a strongest 11. Quite clearly, and I believe mainly because of, the injuries a lot of these players had, which kept them out for a whole season last season. Some of them, like Fofana, he's been out for a season and a half, a full 18 months. Reece James looked dreadful in terms of his fitness. So I think they are playing this game to work on fitness, to work on the system, and to exercise themselves a bit more and familiarize themselves a bit more in the system. Is he looking at the results? Not particularly. I don't think he particularly looked at the results in any game. Obviously, when he went 4-0 down against City, it becomes a matter of pride, and you've got to salvage some sort of pride, especially when you were playing Man City's C team. But he was very acutely aware of the fact that he was up against a manager who'd been there for 7 months, and he'd been there just sort of twice of 7 days. So there's a lot of learning in these exercises in pre-season. And he said himself in his interview that, look, the American tour, which is now the way modern football goes. If you see all the big clubs, they're all out there. Even the lesser clubs are all out in different countries. It's all about the merchandising and less about the actual pre-season training. So you have a very short pre-season window, which is a couple of weeks at the beginning of pre-season, which in an international tournament time, most of your players aren't there if you're a team like Chelsea. And then a couple of weeks before the season starts, which is when the real pre-season takes place. The rest in between are just paltry exercises. So I don't think he's looking at the result. I don't even think Real Madrid will be looking at the results. They will have players that are not yet available because of the European tournaments. Of course, Carlo has been with them forever and a day, like Pep is with Man City. And so the youngsters that he will use, he'll be quite familiar with. They know how they play. And, they will be a tough nut to crack, which is, there's no point playing a team that isn't going to be strong in pre-season. You learn nothing. The stronger the team is, the better for you. The more you see your mistakes, the more you see what you have to attain. I have a feeling though that today it's not going to be like Man City, because Carlo's tactics are actually quite cavalier. He's a Galacticos whisperer. He knows how to get the best out of top level players, but actually dealing with like youngsters and things, I'm not too sure about it, to be honest, especially from what we saw of him at Everton. He looked a bit sort of lost. He needs players that know what they're doing so he can set them free to do their thing. So that's going to be interesting. I think the game may be more open than we think, and certainly quite high scoring. Will they beat us? Probably. But will we have learnt a lot? Will we see an improvement? Of course we will. A lot of these players will be just that little bit further along. Moises Caicedo will have more than the day and a half training that he had when he came back. And there will be marginal improvements, not great improvements, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, DJ, we'll come to you. Do you think it's going to be a bit more kind of like Dante said, with a bit more of a stronger starting 11 sort of thing, or do you think it will still be a bit more experimentation and rotation, like Bobby said?
Yeah, I think it'd be a bit of both, to be fair, because obviously we're not far away now from the kickoff, are we? So we've got Inter Milan left after this, so he'll need to start putting out, I think, his stronger teams for a stronger team at least for the next two games, even though there'll still be a bit of experiment in there. I'm not sure. Is Cole Palmer back with the squad now?
So I think both
Cobham?
Palmer and Cucurella are both at Cobham. They decided that there was no point of sending them to America to come back. So I think they're at. I don't know if they're at. I think they're at Cobham, maybe training now. Whether they might get some sort of minutes in the Inter game, but depends on how ready they are and what sort of shape they've kept themselves in since the Euros finals. Because I know Palmer's been enjoying himself, but I don't know about Cucurella. Cucurella's been doing Estrella advert. Depends how much of them Estrellas he's had, how fit he will be coming back in. But
but listen, on tonight's game, it can't be another. I mean, it hopefully won't be another gift FC. Yeah, we've done that already for Manchester City. I mean, all their goals, to be fair, apart from one, were all gifts. And one thing I hope tonight, for me tonight, and I've said it already after the last game, was please don't have Sanchez in the goal tonight. Give this Jorgensen a chance in goal tonight, because I want to see what this guy can do. Because I just think Sanchez, for me, hopefully won't be our number one going into the season. I just think he's just not the guy, and I just hope tonight he the other guy, Jorgensen, gets his chance, and he does put out more for a stronger team that probably will be obviously playing against Inter Milan and obviously at the start and ready for the start of the Premiership. But I'm hoping we won't get a battering tonight. Hopefully we'll be be closer. This is Real Madrid we're talking about here, so whether it'll be close, hopefully they'll probably end up beating us, but hope not a battering. But hopefully we can run them a little bit closer than normal.
Yeah, I mean, I think tonight, from what I think the important thing is try not to make as many mistakes as we did. I think Caicedo was at the fault of some of their mistakes, but again, he, as we've kind of said, he won't have a day and a half of training left, and he'll be a little bit more fitter. But yeah, I just hope it's a bit more of a. I don't like to see the kind of score lines that we've seen, but it's pre-season. As I said, this is the time to make mistakes. This is the time to get fit. It does. I mean, I've seen us lose to Yokohama FC in seasons where we've gone on to do quite well. I've seen us lose against God knows who. So I had a little bit of a rant earlier on Sunday on my own podcast, just how like people will want Maresca gone now, and it's like it's just pre-season, guys. It's like we haven't even got into the competitive games yet. Like, calm down. But that is unfortunately the modern football fan at the moment is what it is. But you can't change it. I mean, I was saying to the guys that I was on, I don't really agree with Maresca coming out. I don't think he was that good in the Championship. My father is a Ipswich Town fan, so saw enough of him in the Championship and didn't really. I mean, he was kind of happy that we didn't get McKenna from him, but was not really impressed with Maresca particularly. So I'm coming into this kind of in an aspect of you need to prove me wrong, but even me, I will give. You got to give the appropriate amount of time for him to almost hang himself or go on and flourish. I don't know. Some fans these nowadays just. I'm not going to go into profanity because that's not what we need on this channel, but just frustrates me and makes me lose my marbles.
Do you know what, Matt? Do you know what, Matt? We had it worse. I mean, I've been following Chelsea since the '80s, bruv. Yeah, we've had it. We've had worse managers back then, mate. To what we're getting nowadays. You know how it used to be back in them days, '80s. So I don't know how far you go back being a fan, but we had some managers. I mean, Bobby will probably go. We had some managers, didn't we, Bobby, back in the days?
Oh yes, the
Some
3D
managers, John Hollins, going to Ian Porterfield, going to all these guys, man. All these man. Was it Campbell? Is it Bobby Campbell? So we've had them. We've had him. So this guy's not as bad as everyone makes it. And any fan that comes out and says Maresca to be sacked, I mean, I mean, as much as I didn't want him as my first choice, I said I was willing to give this guy a chance because obviously he's worked with Pep. He's obviously got a bit of Pep's ways of playing. Obviously, he's got his own way as well. And I thought to myself, you know what, give this guy a chance. I know he almost blew it with Leicester, but he needs to be given a chance. And I think he can come good at Chelsea. I think he can. I just think sometimes fans just need to sometimes just lay off this sack the manager, get rid of him, and never give this guy a chance. That's what I'm saying. Hope the fans will do that. As I said,
I mean, I've always been someone that I love to back a manager, and I will back him as far as I can. I mean, I'd argue the only manager I really looked at and just couldn't get behind was Sarri, but that was more probably my young self thinking I want Ruben Loftus-Cheek to play, and he did come in really well at the end, towards the end that season before his injury. But I think that's the only manager I've looked at and generally not wanted to give time for. I think there's a certain amount of the fan base that was in disagreement, but so many managers we've sacked. I think we've sacked at the wrong time, and some of it's worked, some of it's hadn't. But thankfully, I was, in terms of when did I start supporting Chelsea, due to my age, I come in at exactly the right time, Mourinho 2004. So I haven't seen myself face to face some of the bad times, but I do love to just go through old Chelsea stuff, whatever I can get, 90s, 80s. And I think that from what I've seen of clips and stuff, some of them, I mean, you guys are obviously some league more, I'm going to say elder, but not in an offensive way, fans that have seen a bit more of the old times. I can understand that sometimes I think some of us young fans, I think it's not good that we're going through a tougher time, but I think sometimes you need to go through tough times to really see the actual reality of how football can be. Kind of with my dad supporting Ipswich, they've gone through quite a tough time and has now come back up. And I can at least experience it secondary. Thankfully, when I was told when I was 4 years old, who do I pick in terms of family, Chelsea, Ipswich, I think I chose the right one. But luckily I got the choice. My brother didn't exactly get lucky to choose that option. And
we won trophies pre-Roman, by the way. Anyone that doesn't know that we won trophies pre-Roman.
I love watching kind of mid-late 90s. I think that era was, I thought it was a pretty interesting era to watch. It's obviously much more clips I can watch of it. And my mate who's an Arsenal fan always goes on, Chelsea were born in 2004. I was like, well, actually, let's get all the trophies out from before. Let's not forget about this. And he does kind of shut up a little bit about that. But that's Arsenal fans for you. Before we go, any final thoughts at all? Dante, I'll start with you. Any final thoughts of today's transfers, today's game? Anything you want to say before we go?
Yeah, look, it's they're not 100% done yet, so but it's waiting for those dominoes to fall, obviously. So we'll see what happens there. They should be done. The Gallagher one should be done pretty much 100%. Still not 100% on the other two. If Omorodion, Alvarez to Atletico is not quite 100%. It's almost there as well, but they haven't been really 100% yet. So we'll just wait to see how those go. That will be important because Alvarez going to Atletico Madrid, that will enable us to buy Samu for that lower price. Otherwise, probably not. So that's an important one to fall that domino. So the Osimhen one, like the guy said, like everyone said, it's up in the air. We're not sure what's going on there. So again, we just have to wait and see what happens with that. Yeah, other than that, just waiting for the game. I'll watch the game and yeah, looking forward to the game, seeing us play a little bit better, a little bit of a more proper, stronger team, not that much experimentation. There will be a little bit, like DJ said and Bobby, there still will be a little bit, but I do expect to see a little bit more of a serious game today. So other than that, yeah, good.
Yeah, I mean, Dante, I think them dominoes are wobbling. We're just waiting for them to fall.
Yeah, exactly. They're close to falling, but not quite yet.
I think Alvarez has had a here we go from Romano, so that is there. I think our one's going to be a little bit later, but with Samu, but I think that's obviously just because I think we're a bit behind the other deals just in general speed, but I think they will fall correctly eventually in the next few days. DJ Sab, any final thoughts at all from you?
No, above excellent stream. We've talked about some really good subjects in terms of the transfers and stuff like that. And like we said, hopefully Chelsea can win tonight. First of all, hopefully we'll get these transfers done as soon as. I think the guy from Atletico might happen. They said possibly tomorrow. I mean, it's more likely it could happen tomorrow. And then the other thing I was going to say is the Osimhen, I think, will go till the end of the season. I think until the end of the transfer window. Sorry, that will go around with that rumble on till then. Other than that, hope we win tonight. And an excellent stream as always. Great standing for Coach Bruv. Hope you come back again soon.
Thank you. Well, I'll be here for at least another week or so. Whether this audition is enough to come back after and any more hosting duties is another question, but that's down to the main man himself, Coach. Bobby, thank you for coming on. And before we go, any final thoughts from you?
Yeah, I'm just watching a compilation of Omorodion on X, and I must say it's rather disturbing. But maybe it's somebody that doesn't like him much and just put together his worst bits.
I've seen a few that go either way. I've seen a good one and the bad one, but
yeah, this is
dreadful. You can make someone look. You can make the best players in the world look really good and really bad at the same time. Depends on what.
Well, I hope he's not like this, because if he is, he's not gonna.
Is it the one where his touches are just terrible?
Yeah,
they call him the next Lukaku, don't they?
Yeah, I've seen that one. It did make me laugh, but worried at the same time.
Yeah. Anyway, look, today I tried to put my level hat on. I'm not expecting much in terms of results. I really am not. Although results do matter for the feel-good factor and for a measure of morale, we do have to remember that these guys aren't fit. They're still working on fitness, not to mention integration of play and being used to each other. They are not ready. It's as simple as that. Personnel-wise and individually, a lot of the personnel that went to America on this tour will not be at the club. They will be on loan. And a lot of the personnel are not even ready to be used. So I think it's just part of the exercising for fitness and the learning of tactics. That's what I'll be looking at mostly. I hope we can spare ourselves unnecessary blushes, but I think we have to remember that Real Madrid will also be in pre-season mode, and will also be experimenting, perhaps not as much as we are, but they will be trying out a few new things, which will kind of hopefully balance everything out a bit. So yeah, I'll watch with keen interest. DJ Sab, I may see you at the bridge for the Inter game. My guys are
Yes.
working. Yeah, I'll be there. Although I've got the fortunate pleasure, because I've not been very well, somebody's allowed me to do a lot of my service up at the director's box area and the
Okay.
commentary area. So I'll
May
be
catch you
hanging.
there.
Yeah, if you send me a text, I might just catch you somewhere, and then
Yeah,
I'll
for sure.
surprise you.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
but yeah, but let's just enjoy the preseason. I know we all want to win; it's in our blood. Winning's our blood. But if it doesn't work out that way, let's just look at it differently and see, well, how much of these guys actually learnt? Who do we really think should be with us next season in terms of the first team? Who should we really be encouraged to sell? Oh boy, I would love to be able to sell Raheem Sterling. I know that's the pipe dream, but yeah, we need to look at that. And I, like you, DJ, I don't want to see Robert Sanchez in goal. I think he's had his chance. I think we need to start to see a bit more of Jorgensen. We don't know if he's any better, to be honest. All I know is that he looked very good as a sweeper, but the test of a keeper is what he does with keeping the ball out of the net. So yeah, watch this game with keen interest.
Yeah, I think it's just try and enjoy it as much as possible. Let's look at the tactics, look at the improvements in fitness, and if we get a result, it's a bonus, really. Obviously, I wanted to go to the Inter game, but unfortunately, work is calling. So typical, but it is what it is. Otherwise, I would love to have gone and also catched up and meet with you guys. But it is what it is. Can't work will always push you at the wrong time to work, but can't help it at all. But thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope I haven't been as bad as I thought I'd be, but it is what it is. I can't replace the main man and coach. He's irreplaceable, but I hope I've done as good a job as possible. Big up to Dante, Sav, and Bobby for coming on, joining me, and all you 101 people that are currently in the chat still, and have put in some great comments, some great arguments and disagreements. It's always good fun, as long as it's all peaceful as it has been. It's always good fun to have. I'll probably be doing a stream similar time tomorrow. I will let you guys know, obviously, panelists, when I'm coming on, and also you guys keep tuning in. I'll be here for probably another week, catching up for coach, and hopefully he's enjoying his holiday. Big up to everyone. This is another great stream on Chelsea Perspective, and we'll see you soon for another episode.
Well done, Matt.
Big up, guys.
Big
Well
up to
done,
you,
Matt.
Matt.